Okay, so we are live, and I'm very happy to have Jay again. Good to see you. And we've both got cool backgrounds. Jay, should we do an intro or talk about our backgrounds first? I don't know. It's really hard to choose.
Talk about our background. I don't know if people are interested in our intros and backgrounds, or
Okay,
um,
you're right. I'm going to do it really quickly. My intro is I'm a Muslim. I'm talking about happiness. I talk about happiness ideas. I don't talk about theoretical ideas. Um, I'm sharing principles that work, but you don't have to be a Muslim to practice them. And I think happiness is easy, and it's really sad that people are suffering so much, uh, both at a personal level and a social level and a global level. All of these happinesses are connected. So we're looking, some people, I was just thinking before I came on the show, is like people might be thinking it's a bit self-indulgent to think about your personal happiness when you've got all this massive crisis in the Middle East. And I'm right now, by the way, I'm right next to that massive crisis. I'm in Jordan, which is next to Israel. But I don't want to talk about that too much. But it is all connected. If individuals are not happy, they negatively affect the people around them. And if you're
yeah,
really unhappy, you can be really negative as a massive group. Like you can really hate on other people if you're really unhappy. Like they say, hurt people hurt people. Ever heard that one?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So anyway, that's kind of a little intro. Do check out the description for all my happiness classes, bigquestionsanswer.com and all that kind of stuff, or just generally my channel. My background is what you can see out my window normally, but normally what happens is my window is like a mirror and you can see nothing. So I'm in a village in Jordan. I love it here, and maybe I'll talk a bit about it during the show. We've got Jay. Jay, say something about yourself. I love talking to you. Every time we talk about it, it's really fascinating. But you say something on your behalf
Thank, thank
and
you
your
for your kind
background.
thank you for your kind words. I could basically mirror what you've said, apart from the Muslim bit. I follow most of the Christian um, words, and mainly the Sermon on the Mount. I've studied it in great depth, apply it in my life, and um, I think I've had pretty good results with it. Difficult, not easy. Um, a lot of it involves the death of self, or death of parts of the human condition that don't serve us, a bit like weeds in the garden. So, like jealousy, anger, regret, um, ego, self-importance, etc. It's not rocket science, really, and from that, you're basically happier, more at ease, calm, in control, things like that. It doesn't always work, but it's better than the other way of
Mm.
living, So yeah, no, I'm happy to be here, and happy not to have planned anything or try to break the break the
Yeah,
internet with
you're
my
you're gonna
wisdom.
be you're gonna be a blank slate to see what happens, sort of thing. I love
Yeah,
that. Yeah, I
yeah.
kind of, even though I do plan, and you see the planning, um, I do try to be a little bit of a blank slate in some ways. But anyway, I'm not going to go into that.
Well,
And your
I think you have
background?
to, as the host, there has to be like a framework.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And tell me about your background. And you might be wondering why that's so important. I'm the thumbnail for this video, which I didn't really share with you, but I showed you the invite link, is the small things are the little things. And increasingly, I'm finding people are not able to. When I say, "How are you doing? How's your week been?" My big criticism of people is they don't say this amazing thing happened, and the reason they don't say it is because they think it has to be a big amazing thing, and they don't realize the little amazing things are so important. But I'm going to try to talk about why that's so important. But anyway, tell me something about your background. That's why I'm picking out. It could be that there's a reason why it's in your background. It is important to you. What was important about you? What's
Is that the
important about it?
picture?
Yeah, the picture, your background. Oh, you
Oh,
don't know
well,
your pic. You don't know what it is.
yeah,
Oh, you do know what it
yeah.
is. Yeah, of course you do.
The
Yeah.
title of the stream is "What Makes Us Happy," and swimming is one of the things that I do every day. Really,
Oh,
I swim in
wow.
the sea, and that's one of the um, joyous experiences I do really. So it is simple. It's as simple as that.
Wow.
And as I was saying to you before, my friend Claire, she took the picture. So
Yeah.
she went in first, and then I looked after the stuff, and then I went in. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So I think if anybody's been to the sea, like I've been to the Dead Sea recently, there's something about anything to do with pure nature. It's just amazing. It's the subtle, it's beautiful, and I think even though you're in England, I'm sure, and it's freezing cold, and you go every day still, right? You still go, you still go into the sea when it's freezing cold. Is that right?
yeah, yeah. I go.
Yeah,
I was in
and
this morning, and I mean, uh,
you still enjoy it.
yeah, go in winter.
Yeah,
I was in the last year. I was in the Scottish Ice Swimming Championships, and
ice squid. Oh
yeah,
wow, you're a tough guy. You're a
well,
tough guy. Yeah, yeah.
no,
Wow. But there is something. Yeah, I mean, even cold showers can be really amazing, and I can imagine even in freezing cold weather, being in the sea. There's something about nature, and that's the kind of thing. I'm not just sidetracking here, by the way. There is something that when I have conversations, I find people who are not truly happy. They're not able to value the everyday stuff, and I'm going to try to express and try to, this is kind of like the thing I'm trying to express and promote, I suppose the word, I don't know how, like help people realize every day should be amazing, but it doesn't have to
yeah,
be big amazing. It's
no,
like it is amazing. In fact, you are living on the greatest, one of the greatest resorts on the universe called planet Earth, you know, and I want people to realize that. And so that's kind of one of my aims. I do this happiness course, and and it's always the same main topics, but I try to approach it in a slightly different way each time, like talking about something that's that I feel is really missing in that. So anyway, let's go for it. So I've got this whole thing going on. Let me make it a little bit bigger. Whoops, I put the screens the wrong way around. Um, there we go. And thank you, Ulrich, who I call Uncle Nazish, for your little comment there saying respect Jay swimming in the sea every day. Cool. I respect you too for that there, Jay. It's good. Excellent habit. Okay, so I am going to scroll up. What really makes us happy? I've already shared the document and somebody else is in it. That's really funny. Is that you, Jay? You're not in it, are you? Anyway, somebody's reading it at the same time, which is cool. So what makes us happy? First of all, what's it got to do with, what is this got to do with happiness? It might be, I always have this as a bullet point, a default bullet point. It might be really obvious. What makes us happy? Well, we waste our time. I always do this in a rush. We waste our time chasing different things like headless chickens. Then we are surprised that happiness seems so hard. Why not look at the psychological evidence on what makes us happy and just follow that? Happiness is easy. So I like to just read a bit and then hear what Jay's got to say about it. So
yeah.
I could be, you know, I'm happy for you to disagree. You could say happiness is not easy. I don't know. But what do you think about, you know, this whole thing? Are
First,
we
hang
headless
on, we waste our
chickens?
time chasing headless chickens. I think, and I speak from experience here, that um, there's got to be something else within you that's fairly solid, that gives you a platform to be happy. I don't think that you can chase like sea swimming if you're not well mentally, spiritually. You can't suddenly find a hobby that you enjoy and then you're happy. It doesn't work like that. I think stuff like sea swimming for me is a bonus. It's not why I'm happy.
Mm.
You know, I'm solid. I'm pretty strong most of the time, and icing on the cake is doing this stream, sea swimming, making good food, chatting with friends, whatever.
Mm.
You know, and but I've had plenty of days in my life where I haven't been well, like inside, and believe me, I used to try everything and do everything that would make most people, you know, it looks great and stuff, but none of it worked.
I
So
love it.
yeah,
That's so true. Like, I love that. When I'm whatever I'm writing, explaining, there's a lot more to explain, and I think you've touched on something really important. It's like when you have a clear direction of what's important, and you're going in, and you're happy with where you are. Like you're kind of describing like you've got a solid foundation. Only then does can anything else make you happy. But when
yeah,
you're distracted and confused, then nothing makes you happy. Like I've had a friend who he's got all the money he needs, whatever, but he says food doesn't like taste good, doesn't nothing tastes good, nothing brings joy, you
mm,
know. So you have to be really clear about like some foundational things. And maybe I will go into it in a bit, but like things like your direction in life, and but if you don't have a direction, you're distracted and confused and running around like headless chicken, then nothing brings joy to life. But when on the reverse, you know where you're going, then everything gives you joy.
yeah,
And yeah, and yeah, I suppose that's great. Thank you for that. Okay, so so I was having a great discussion with some friends yesterday. People my age, we haven't talked to for about 20 years or something. Kind of. Anyway, um, and yeah, and then we were saying what are we doing in life, and basically the other two were basically. I wouldn't say they were really enjoying day to day. When I asked them, "Are you enjoying day to day?" and it was like, "No, we're running 100 miles an hour." Um, Trying to be successful basically, and hopefully we'll be happy in a year's time or something like that, right? And so that got me thinking, you know. And then I said, what really, how much money do you need to be happy? And it's like, yeah, more money, because if we don't have enough money we can't feel secure. The other, not actually, both of them weren't saying the same thing. One of them was really had a different approach. He said, I'm not sure why I'm um, making so much money? And he said, I don't have a purpose. And that's a good question. And so, one of the things about this whole discussion, this live stream, is sometimes when you just speak out aloud, then you question your thoughts, because most of the time people don't talk about this stuff. This isn't a usual conversation. The usual conversation is what's on Netflix and what's on TV. Okay. And then you don't really think about where you're going in life, and you don't really enjoy life.
yeah,
So that's kind of part of us. So I'll read a bit of this. So, most people claim to be independent thinkers and not scared of anything, yet they're constantly scared that they do not have enough and keep working harder. How much is enough to feel secure? The more you depend on money, the weaker you become. Not only that, but as you chase what is not important, you will lose sight of what is important. So, by this logic, no amount of money will be enough. And I think I missed one little thing when I was being scared of what? What are people scared of? Um, well, they're scared of not having enough, but they're also scared of other people's opinions as well. I think that's a major thing. Like,
yeah.
but 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 yeah, I should have broken that into tinier parts, I suppose.
Well,
But
we
yeah, go on.
possibly more in the West, but we live in a society where, in general, the more the spiritual currency is cash, is property. So the more cash and property, whatever, and wealth you've got, the more the better you are, and that's what we taught.
Mm.
And so therefore, to be a success, you have to achieve a lot in that area. And that doesn't always happen for people, like, well, hardly anybody gets to the top of the mountain in that area, but it's silly chasing it. I mean,
Well, the funny thing is, when you get to top of one mountain, then all you do is you look at what's on top of the next hill. But
yeah,
that's just the funny, like when you say have enough, it would be nice if there was an exact amount of what was enough. But like if you say £1,000,000 and you achieve £1,000,000, all you'll do is look at the person with £2,000,000. So in short, our definition of success in the West is the worst possible definition, which is have more than you have. Like whatever you have, people's definition of success is not a fixed thing. They always look at what people have who have more than them. It's a weird thing.
I think as
Yeah.
well, it relates to the first point we made that when you get fairly strong within and solid, you lose the desire, like, to have superfluous and excess stuff, because you don't need it.
I love it.
Yeah, and that's one of the treasures in heaven that you gain from, like, experiencing that spiritual consciousness. You lose the need and the desire to impress, to compare, to be wealthy. You're wealthy in spirit. You have plenty supply. You're rich in heaven, so to speak, like, whilst being alive. So
I love it.
yeah,
I'm just gonna say something. I wish all Christians were like you. Sometimes the last time I feel like a lot of Christians do themselves such a disservice when they're trying to promote Christianity. People just like you're bringing value to people just by what you're saying is so good. When you're solid inside, you don't need to show off to other people. When you're strong inside, you don't need other people's what's that? What's the word? Other people's
opinion,
opinion, affirmation, all that kind of stuff. You don't need it when you're strong, and you're not scared as well. You're not scared of if this will happen or that will happen. And in reality, it's not real. You're not gonna like if you're like I suppose let's see if maybe you can explain this better than me. I often say this, and I'm thinking I've got to find a better way of explaining this. Like I increasingly could get to the stage where I can say, look, I'm going to try something out and I'm probably not going to die doing it. So what's the big deal? But that's not very convincing to most people because, do you know what I mean? It's like, you're going to have fun, try doing some fun stuff, and you probably won't die. It'll be all right. But it's probably not convincing. Can you think of a more convincing way to say it? I mean, I think you might get what I'm saying.
I get it. I mean, I'm a parent, and with young children, you try to get them to do stuff. It's difficult. Are you? Is it like you've got nothing to lose? You might as well just.
Yeah, I mean, because most people are so scared. Like, oh no, it's like I talk to people who got like, oh, I can't do this thing that's important because I've got to paint my wall the 100th time to make it look up to standard, or fix a shelf, or whatever it is, and that's their lives, and their hair literally goes grey. One of the things I compare myself with people my own age is like my hair's all white, I mean black, and they're surprised that their hair's all gone white, and they're even younger than me, including my brothers. And it's like, because you've been worrying, and I'm gonna I'm always practicing how to explain things. Well, I want to explain things really badly again. It's like I'm basically suicidal 24/7, but not in a bad way, in the good way. If this makes any sense. Like I'm ready to I'm good, man. Nothing's gonna happen. I'm just gonna jump, go to Jordan. If it goes wrong, I'll come back to London. And if I have to live in, if last time I came back, I had to be in a one bedroom with my whole family. I've got 4 kids, right? But so what? Nobody died. But if you care about what everybody else thinks, then oh no, I'm a square
No,
zero.
I
Blah, blah,
got it.
blah.
I
Do you
got
know what I
it.
mean?
I think it gets back to what we said about being strong inside and having something. In golf, they call it an extra club in the bag. And I think if you've got that, then you can't really lose. You're on a different footing. You're on a different level, and the only failure that you can experience is by losing your connection with God. And if that were to happen, then your hair goes grey because you're living in the human condition, and you're living in the area of self. And so the opposite, obviously, is if you're strong from the spiritual ways, then it doesn't really matter. Like nothing, not even death. Like nothing matters.
Not even death, actually. Yeah, not even death is scary for religious people. You can see, because throughout history, religious people are ready to die for a cause, right? And the reverse of what you're saying is people who are godless, they're scared of everything. Everything is traumatic, And there's in the link that somebody's already in with Fantastic. Somebody's looking at this document already. So if you go to the description, anybody's watching, you can look at this. I put a link to an atheist psychologist who's basically saying, you know what? All the data is saying being religious just makes you so like mentally healthy and all the way around. And then he questioned himself, like, why am I not religious? Because of there's so many pros, you know what I mean? But anyway, there's so many benefits for believing in God. But anyway, okay. So just for people, so they know where this is going. So first of all, I am going to talk about what we need, but like I felt like the initial problem people have is this fear of, which is stopping them from getting what they need. Like they say, oh, but we do need money, but we do need money, we do need lots of stuff. And I'm trying to help people, like trying to get them in the condition where they can get to the point where they can actually listen to what actually makes them happy. And it's not millions of pounds. And it's the subtle stuff that I'm going to talk about. And then I'm going to talk about why the small things, this is the one big message I want to get across, why the small things are really the big things. So let's get to that. What's next? We think people who make lots of money are intelligent. So this is another thing people make a big mistake. They think that if they made lots of money, therefore they know everything else about life, sort of thing. It's like, you know what I mean? I'm successful in this one aspect of life, which is I made loads of money. Therefore, I must know what I'm talking about. And so being good at one thing doesn't make you good at others. I mean, that's kind of obvious in some ways, but people don't realize that it's obvious. Like if you're good at being I don't know, a surgeon, a brain surgeon or something, you're not a good plumber at the same time. But people conflate the two things, like, oh, I made loads of money, therefore I must be intelligent. But then look at Elon Musk, he's got lots of money, but his relationships are a mess. It's a good example because he used to be the richest person in the world. Money hoarders tell themselves that they are building wealth so they can be happy tomorrow, but tomorrow is always tomorrow, so it never comes. They train themselves to accept misery. In reality, they're scared of. Okay, so I suppose that's enough for a mini until another comment from you. So, any thoughts about that? So,
no, I agree totally. Totally Yeah, it all makes sense. Yeah, good. Carry on.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, thank you. I mean, this is such a big thing though, isn't it? This is like, I'm trying to talk about the major hurdles that most people suffer from. I feel like, how can I explain it more clearly? But maybe they just need to hear it once. I don't know. Um, yeah, first of all, if you make loads of money and other people who make money, you don't necessarily listen to them because their personal lives are usually a mess anyway. Steve Jobs, all these kind of people, right? Um, and also the idea of I'll be happy tomorrow. I think I've kind of talked about it even before. Like the more you
Yeah,
depend on money, the weaker you become and the more blind you become to what actually makes you happy. So I'm reiterating those points anyway. In reality, they are scared of looking stupid. That is because they have adopted the worst definition of success, adopted by most Westerners, to have as much as someone who has more than them. By such a definition, they will always be unsuccessful and unhappy. So, yeah, I really think, I mean, it sounds really dumb. Like you have a definition, people don't realize what their definition of success is. This is the thing I was talking about in the beginning. Like, people don't have these discussions, they don't say things out aloud. And if they were saying things out loud, like, what is my definition of success? What do I need? Okay, and then they realize how stupid those things are. Okay. And a typical thing is you want more. Whatever you have, you want more. Why? Because you're always comparing yourself with somebody who has more than you. And it sounds like the dumbest thing ever, but actually, that's what pretty much everybody we know is doing. I mean, or am I wrong? I don't think I'm wrong because there's too many unhappy people to sort of prove my point, I suppose. But I mean, what do you think, Jay?
I
Is
think.
that, do you think really, okay, let's ask this question. Let me make it really specific. Do you think that is most people's definition of success, to have more than they have?
Yeah, I think. I think that we are brought up that way. We taught that way. We told that in order to be um, happy or even a success, we have to obtain things. We have to achieve. Um, and
And the funny
it's
thing is, who told us? I mean,
yeah,
who told you
um,
before?
elders, parents, school, um, old media.
And the worst place, the adverts told us.
Mhm.
The ones that are selling us, stuff that we don't need, they told us, right? And our parents listened to it and then told us. Yeah, because, and it's the funny thing is, it's like, and we didn't question them because we let them just like wander around in our brains and we didn't talk about them to people. Do you know what I mean? We never have, back to this thing, we never say these things out aloud. We don't think what's the meaning of life and whatever, where are we going? These are big questions that apparently supposedly nobody has the answers to, right? Even though a lot of people in the world do seem to have the answers and living very well. um yeah, I mean, what do you think? Like,
I
yeah, I
think
don't know.
that's
Yeah,
quite
go on.
contentious, but I think if you live in the world today, and you're living um, on the um, outer plane, you're trying to make something of yourself. You're seeking this and you're chasing. You're gonna get depressed. I think a lot of depression, um, especially in friends, um, it's almost false. It's because the world isn't giving them what they want, or life isn't giving them what they want, or they have got what they thought would make them happy and it isn't. So it's it's possibly the search for happiness, maybe, um, but what people do to obtain it, and I'm not convinced that it works, especially in this day and age. And if you look at
Hmm.
the amount of, they call it mental health, but I don't know. It sounds pretty arrogant, but I don't really play the game that's going to lead to like depression. And I know that there are people who are mentally ill, like the brain is like, you have a broken arm and your brain can be faulty. I totally respect that, but you know, a lot of people go to university, do this, do that, and they end up being 40-year-old wanting to jump off the cliff. You know, we told marriage, or we told this, we told get to go to see the world, get to travel, get this, get that.
I'm going to jump in because I feel like I'm going to forget all the good points you're making, right? So, because I feel like I want to give it a slightly different angle or say it in a slightly different way. So, you were saying something like, if you're chasing happiness, you'll be miserable. I'm kind of trying to simplify it. And I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah.
I'm saying, because I don't get happy by chasing happiness directly. And you mentioned marriage, which is the major issue in the West nowadays. People are forgetting that, and it's happening even in richer parts of Jordan as well. People like saying, "Why do we need to get married?" and stuff like that, right? I do. Yeah. Okay. I'll say it straight away without the filters. I tell everybody else to not filter too much. I follow God laws, which are in line with my nature, like get married, do whatever. And guess what? I'm happier than most people I know, pretty much everybody I know, because I just follow the laws and they work because they're designed for me by the creator. And if people and like a marriage is a really good example, like a lot of people who get married, let's say Westerners, you get married and they have this huge £20,000 wedding. Like my one was like £300-400, and it was like on paper plates. Yeah, this is normal for a lot of the Muslim weddings that I go to. We don't have fancy cutlery. It's just about having maximum number of people, really basic stuff. Everybody gets to eat a little bit, you know, nothing fancy, right? But that's it didn't have to be fancy because it's just their company we need, right? So there's the people who get married for the wrong reasons and their marriages don't last because they married to get happy directly from the thing. But I married to make the world a better place. How do you do that? Muslims marry and have children so they can leave children behind them that are better than, you know, who carry on the good spiritual and social values, right? And that way things last. But if you're like, oh, when I get married, I'm going to live happily ever after, that sort of way of thinking doesn't work because you're thinking about me all the time. But if you're thinking bigger picture all the time, then life becomes so much easier. It's just, does that make any sense? When you're living a principled life, you're not knocked so easily. If you're living a self-centered life, that's a very fragile life. And you might be doing the same thing, like both trying to get married. There's a religious person getting married, and there's the atheist, hedonistic person getting married. But if your reasons are weak, then you're knocked and really easily, and everything falls apart.
Absolutely. Yeah, that you've just summed up what we've spoke about for the last 30 minutes. If you follow and you know, if you're working from God, then you're almost protected from the self, and from that, you're not going to suffer the what the other guy is going to get in most cases, where if he's coming from the place of self and ego and greed, then you will get disappointed. It's inevitable. So the thing with religious laws or spiritual principles, the word you use, they're actually for our own good. You know, like speed limits are for our own good, as much as what we may not like them. But so why would a person not follow, you know, religious, like spiritual principles? And because the human self doesn't get its own way. so that the conflict between man and God has always been man saying, I can do it better. And you need to do that. I needed to do that to realize that I couldn't. So
Yeah.
that's when that's when you maybe need a bit of help.
Yeah, I love that. I think the first time you came, what I like to, I mean, you told, just for other people who don't know, like you said you tried the materialistic lifestyle and you achieved your goals. And tell me if I remembered it wrong. And as soon as you hit your goals, you got really depressed and went to drinking.
Yeah, I mean, drinking helped like calm the internal condition. I mean, drink wasn't the problem. The problem was within that
Yeah.
you get to be. I think I was in my mid-20s or something, and you achieve everything and what you wanted to achieve and what you thought would make you well, and it didn't, and that's a scary place and frightening as well. And it's from those experiences that you I'm glad I've come out of it to where like I am who I am, what I am today. And it's not because I'm a great guy or I'm a strong-willed person or I'm whatever. It's more through failure and defeat of living the wrong way, and that I had the free will to do those things, but I also had the free will to experience the consequences from them.
And I
And
like the thing. Yeah, go on. I don't want to interrupt too
no, that's
much.
it. So,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
the,
I like what I liked about particularly what you said, and I feel like I sometimes I need to reiterate. It's like you said you're not perfect, and it's not, and I'm a million miles away from perfect as well. And the reason why that's important to say is like you don't have to be amazing to have a
no,
fantastic life. You just have to let go of some of your ego, though. That's the major issues. Like as our ego chasing is being happy is not a problem, but the way egotistical people, and most people, even including myself, we all got a bit of ego, is that we are our real definition of success is to dominate. We don't just want to be successful with be
yeah,
happy. We want to be happy so other people can see we're the best and better than them, which is really sad. And you're not going to have many friends at the end of the day if you're going to think like that. Do you know what I mean? It's if
I
everything
think
in life is a
from
competition.
yeah, no, from experience, that it's like a false self. So if you're chasing something and you get a bit happy and you're like, look at me, look at me. People seem to know. People kind of it just doesn't. They don't connect with you. Um,
That's
in,
why
in
people are so lonely nowadays, because they're
yeah,
trying this thing. We're just trying to be successful, and then they made such an effort to buy this expensive car, which cost £80,000 and spent millions of hours. So they're gonna want to show it off, and then when you show it off, you look a bit hollow, and you're trying to. You don't want to show it off in a way like my car is not as good as your car. You're going to say my car's a million times better than your car, sort of thing, and then you're just going to lose that friend effectively, even though that's not your intention. So
yeah.
yeah. Okay, I'm going to try to whiz through. I'm just enjoying this
Okay.
conversation too much, but I should get through the material and get to the bit
Okay.
where we do actually talk about the stuff that. So I'm going to just read through a big chunk really quickly. It's not so big. Okay. I stay looking young compared to my friends because I don't worry like them. I mentioned that before. I know I will not die from hunger. I'm happy to lose more and more because I'm not dependent on the silly things they are, like an expensive flat, which is actually just an expensive prison. You know what I mean? You spent so much money on it, and now you just have to wander around in circles in it. You know, um, it didn't have to be expensive. In fact, the more money they have, the more miserable they become because they start only finding expensive things pleasurable, and the rest of life. This is kind of getting to where I really want to go. And the rest of life, the little things which are actually amazing, stop feeling amazing. So you've actually numbed yourself from the
Yeah.
stuff that actually makes you happier. And even worse, when you don't appreciate the little things like gardening and being in nature, which is actually more effective than any antidepressant drug, I like to always throw that in, you lock yourself away in expensive things, away from the things that actually make you happy. So you get yourself trapped in this prison called the fantastic, the penthouse flat, and you're away from all the good stuff, and you stick with all the bad stuff, and then it's going to get worse and worse. And the more you realize how little you need, the more free you will be. And I think you've been saying that all through this stream so far. There are many things in which Islam's Okay, so, and then I'm going to explain how you can do that in a second. But before I explain how Islam, and you can possibly say how Christianity helps you to escape this, what's your comment so far on that? Like,
No, absolutely. Yeah. It doesn't work, so you chase it more. And then it doesn't work, so you chase it more.
I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. I love that. That's exactly a verse of the Quran, which basically you're chasing a mirage, which is an illusion, which always stays in the distance. Okay, cool. So there are many ways in which Islam helps you escape the mindset, and this will actually be familiar to a lot of people. They say you've heard in England, we always say when a kid doesn't finish their plate of food, they say, have you thought about the people in Africa? I mean, have you heard that one, right? They didn't get, but I like this one a little bit more. It's a bit more detailed than that, right? Because first of all, the thing in Africa, I think there are people, when I went to Gambia, they're far happier anyway. But that's another story. So, and it's a bit racist to say all of Africa is poor and whatever, although lots of it is, but even the poor bits I found were the happier bits, and they do have very modern things there as well. But anyway, this one says, this is Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. He says, look at those below you and do not look at those above you, for it is the best way not to belittle the favors of Allah. So, and Allah is just God. It just means the one true God. It's the same God me and you both believe in, really, I think. Jesus used to say Allah is the word in Aramaic. Did we ever mention that? I don't know if we ever talked about that, but Allah is,
so, yeah.
Yeah, it's an ancient word for God anyway. So yeah, so I love this thing. So we've been talking so far about the Western definition of success, that is the unspoken definition of success, is have more than you already have, right? So you're always looking up, and then you're always going to be unsatisfied. And if you do the reverse, if you just start, and this is doesn't come naturally to people, that's what they have to be told, just look at somebody who's got less than you, and suddenly you'll realize the things you do have, the things you've been ignoring. And I love this kind of little phrasing, to belittle the favors of God. Like I even like to say, disrespect the favors of God. Like, you've been given so many things, but we disrespect them, we ignore them, and we get depressed. And we talked about getting depressed, and I'm a bit harsher than maybe you are. I think depression is just like if your knee is bleeding, you go, oh, what did I do to do that? I need to fix that. I need to stop bumping my knee into the wall. And if you're getting depressed, that's your mind saying you're missing something or doing something wrong. Stop doing that thing, right? So and people getting depressed because they're chasing stuff that doesn't make them happy, and they need to start realizing all the beautiful things they do have. I think I went off in a tangent there, but anyway, yeah. So most people's idea of success, this is just to explain this, and I've kind of explained it already, I think. Yeah, I won't repeat it. So this is the thing I haven't said so far, or I kind of need to repeat a little bit. First of all, you begin to realize the little things are the big things. The little things are just subtle. Our materialistic mindset has focused us on what we can see, but it is the invisible things like meaning that great psychologists like Viktor Frankl have always explained are the heart of happiness. So no wonder we're depressed. Because when you're a materialist, what you do is you look at the obvious, the visible. but it's the little things, and the really little things are the invisible things, the meaning. What's the point of life? Nietzsche says, if you've got a why, you can get through any how. This is how, maybe what I want to get to is, one of the things I want to get to is, if you see human beings like a robot and we've got buttons, and if you press the right buttons, you get happy. We just need to know what those buttons are. And I'm telling you, they're things like meaning and stuff like that. And those meaning things, they don't look like big deals because we can't see them. And they don't look like big deals because we've been trained by adverts, TV adverts that want to sell us stupid things that we don't need, okay, to look at the material, the obvious. Do you know what I mean? So try to unprogram yourself and try to really look at what the facts are. Like I said in the beginning, look at the facts. Psychologists have been saying this for ages. Okay, Viktor Frankl is a very big psychologist in this realm of what gives us happiness. Meaning, just look at the facts, follow the facts, and you'll find you'll be happier much more quickly. Any thoughts about that before we go into what really makes us happy?
No, just there's something in Matthew in the sermon. I've put it in the chat.
Yeah. Okay.
And one of the Beatitudes is, "Blessed are the clean of heart, for they shall see God." And I think everything that we've spoke about is to become as pure as possible in that sense. And that's when you see the small things. So you're grateful for just being alive. You enjoy being alive because you're alive. You know, and that's the experience of God consciousness. So I think it was St. Paul who said you have to die a daily death. Not getting murdered, crucified.
I love that.
Yeah, just kill the self, and then you're just left with yourself and the spirit in that sense. And that's when, so blessed are the clean of heart, for they shall see God. And I think,
and now I think, yeah, I'm not sure if everybody will realize the power behind what is just being said there, because that's kind of where I'm leading to. Like, people go, God, what's that got to do with happiness, right? And I'm going to talk about that now. But I think that thing you said about dying a daily death, that is so important. And I think that's one of the things I missed out, because what I'm trying to do is I'm leading up to what we really need. Okay, but people won't accept what we really need because they're so attached to their false gods, as it were, the things that they're chasing like headless chickens. And I'm trying to help them, like, tell them it'll be okay. Don't worry, your life won't end if you won't have that expensive car that you don't need. And people are really, really quite anxious, like, oh no, I need more money. So I'm trying to help before we get to that. And on the way to that, I think what you just said is incredibly important. Like, and this is the kind of thing that might put people off, though, at the same time, if it's not explained. Having a daily death, what does that mean? Like, just letting go of something you think you really need, and it does feel like death. And maybe that's the reason why people don't do it, because it feels so painful. It's like, oh, okay, I'll give you an example. I don't know. What's a good example? Hairstyle. It's going to be something really stupid that people are attached to, usually like a hairstyle or something like that, right? I don't know. A shirt. I'm just trying to think of something stupid, right? But it is usually really something stupid. And you go, oh, I really need, I don't know, a certain kind of food. And if I don't have that food, and if it's not tasty enough, and it sounds really stupid what I'm saying, but this is actually a reality. I mean, maybe I'll give an example of today. What is an example of today? I'm thinking about food. So I was fasting today. I don't want to make this a long story, but I try, sometimes a story makes it more real, right?
Yeah.
Fasting today, and what did I have for breakfast? A little bit of milk and a little bit of cheese. There wasn't much in the fridge. So I thought, when I'm breaking my fast, it should be something really nice. And I felt like the thing, my false god, my mini false god was it has to be something really nice with meat or something in it. Okay, but my wife was out, and the food that was in the house was some lentils and some rice and a bit of lemon squeezed on it, whatever, right? And quite frankly, that food, the simple food, was so much nicer than the food that the takeaway food my wife brought in, right? That I didn't really need, but I asked for just in case, because I thought the simple food wouldn't be good enough. But the simple food was the better food. I don't know if that helps, but it's like these are mini false gods, and the more you let go of them, death doesn't sound good, but when you put it in the perspective of every time you let go of a stupid thing you don't need, you actually just become more powerful and free.
Yeah.
You just don't need those things, and now you're free to do more cool stuff in life, is what I really want to like. Most people are trapped doing really boring stuff. Most people are trapped working really hard at jobs they hate to buy things they don't need to impress people they don't like. You should like everybody, but that's what it is. Yeah. So I just want people to be free. Okay. And I'm gonna keep the thing that you said, blessed are the clean of heart, for they should see God. It's all about like purifying yourself by letting go of stupid egotistical things, okay, which will lead to this thing that we're going to right now. So it will lead you to God. God is, I'm just going to say it before. Actually, I'm going to, maybe I'll give the equivalent, right, for what you just said. Blessed are the clean of heart, for they should see God. Actually, there's loads of equivalents in Islam, but I'll just give this one. And it is in the remembrance of Allah that God, basically God, that hearts can find comfort. Okay.
Yeah.
It's like, and this is a test, in fact. It's like you can try this out. You're feeling depressed, just think about God and what the obvious definition of God, the all powerful, the one who's giving you everything, you know, the one who whatever, who made you. Obviously, if you just start contemplating that, you'll suddenly find a lot more peace. But it won't solve everything, because you've got to listen to God as well. But that's another side. Okay. So but I'll quickly read this thing. So I want to prove to people why God is everything, or basically what you need. Okay. Some sort of logical reasoning. Okay. As Western society is getting richer, people are getting more depressed. When I was young, I could barely stand in the kitchen because it was so small. We used to, I don't know if you remember the old days where kitchen weren't these nice, massive rectangular things with massive cupboards and everything.
No.
You know, it was like, do you mean, I think it was not normal in the 1980s or 70s. It was just like there was a little hob somewhere. And
well, a kitchen, believe it or not, used to be somewhere that you cook food.
Yeah.
These days, it's a status symbol, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. So and there was, the outside toilets were being phased out. Do you remember the outside toilets?
I do.
Yeah. And then we only had 4 channels on TV. Life was simpler, and people, yeah, exactly. And life was simpler, and people were much happier. Now the average kid has a smartphone. People can watch endless things on YouTube, but depression is skyrocketing, and relationships are either non-existent or not long-lasting for most. This shows that having more things doesn't make you happier. Something more subtle and even more magical is what we need. Just being in nature is more powerful than any antidepressant. What is so special about nature? One explanation is that nature is a reflection of the beauty of God. If we were to list the things that the West is missing, such as something that gives reason for life so that it doesn't feel empty, a direction so life isn't so confusing, family and connected society. So these are all the things that the West is missing. If we list all these things that we desperately need, they all seem to magically be related to God-centered societies. So if you go to Muslim societies or whatever, or just Muslims within Western societies, they have all these things. You might say it's not perfect. Yeah, of course it's not perfect. And there's also people, if you're not practicing the religion, you're not going to benefit from it either, that sort of thing either. So, but generally, statistically, it's far more true of God-centered society, not even just Muslim societies, any strongly, you know, God-centered people, they seem to get all the things that are needed. that are missing in Western societies. So when God disappears from the picture, all good stuff disappears. As an atheist psychologist explained in the video called "Religion, Nature's Antidepressant." So if you want a summary of what I just said in some ways, there's a great very well-known professor who explains exactly this and saying there's so many studies proving exactly what I'm saying, that religion is incredibly powerful at making you happy. And he even questions why he's still an atheist, because if you were just looking for the benefits, go for it. But he just doesn't believe in God is his problem. Yeah, so I will stop there before I go back to this little test. Actually, I've already given the test, didn't I? I said, if you are depressed, try thinking about God, and it will kind of like there's this kind of evidence that there's something magical about God. Just when you put God into the mix, everything starts fixing. First of all, your mental health improves, but also your choices improve, so you do all the good things that make you happier. You're in more committed relationships, and society is more connected. Like everybody here calls themselves brother or sister. That's normal. Everybody calls themselves auntie. Nobody's a stranger. You jump into a taxi, you're not a stranger to the taxi driver. You're an old friend. That's because of this religious upbringing. We're all called Bani Adam, which means the children of Adam. That's how you that's how you describe human beings here. When you call somebody on the street, if there's a girl, you say Benat, which is my daughter. That's how you talk to people. You don't say as if they're strangers. So if you want to respond to that, and then I'm going to click through some of the comments, because there's a few, and somebody had to go. Who's it? Enzo said, what did it say? Khaled, let go of the things we don't need and be grateful for the things we have. Cool, yep. And he has to go, but he enjoyed the show. Appreciate, and I'm glad you were here. Thank you. And you already said thanks and bye. You're quite active there. Okay. So anyway, what are your thoughts about this? So what I'm trying to say here is God magically seems to be the answer. So maybe God is the answer.
Yeah, there's something in the stuff I read, and it's saying when you have troubles, don't dissect and analyze the trouble. Go to God and literally like put that other stuff out your mind, and then from actually doing that, it changes our perception, it changes our consciousness, and the problem not so much disappears, but it doesn't have the same poisonous toxicity and to destroy us. So, whether it be death or illness or tragedy or just the fact that it's raining outside or whatever, we need to go straight upstairs, so to speak. And yeah, but it's not easy to do that on a daily basis. I mean, I don't think the human is. We're not God. We're humans, and the purpose is to get as close as possible, or to experience as close as possible. And the closer we get to that state, then the more powerful we are, and the less we suffer.
I'm going to put it, I like that. I love the humility in which you express things, because sometimes I say it in a really blank, straight, tough way, like just do this or something. Yes, we're all human, and and I want to add something, which is that might give hope, is like when you try some of this stuff, like try the spiritual stuff, and then you question it, does it work? Does it make you happy? You'll realize basically you get a taste for it. Like, do these simple things. You get a taste for the small things, and do the godly things. Serve somebody else, and see how it affects you. And then I think you'll just be pushed towards it. There's a saying of Prophet Muhammad: when you take one step towards God, God takes 10 steps towards you. What I mean to say is that it'll become easier and easier. And I'm just requesting my viewers, for their benefit, is just give it a shot and see what happens, and then I think a lot of good things will happen. And I realize we're already kind of out of time, so I'm just going to try to. So yeah, So here's a little test, very briefly. I've said this, try it if you're depressed. See what happens. Think about the creator. See what happens. It's not going to solve all your problems, because God also doesn't want you just to think about God. God wants you to listen to God. God's giving you loads of formulas to solve your problems, And I've talked about that in the previous show, like, where do you get the solutions? Where did you get the answers? How do you know they're the answers? All that kind of stuff, right? But anyway, but this is the kind of maybe the one contradiction that people might, and I really wanted to, I feel like explaining this. If you got a few more minutes, how long
Yeah,
you got?
good. I'm good.
Yeah, I don't like to go beyond my time though, so I would do this really quickly. So people might say, you said the small things are the big things, and I really want to round this off. And then now you're saying God is the thing, and God is definitely not small. God is big, right? But not actually to the human mind, because the human mind is way more stupid than we realize.
Oh, no, yeah. I agree.
Because we can't see God, you see. So God is invisible and becomes sort of nothing, tiny, stuff like that. So in reality, the small things are not really the small things. I'm trying to highlight the whole lot. They are just subtle things, which are always the big things. So the small things that I'm calling the small things, they're never really the small things. Like I don't know, the tea. I don't know that I'm having. I'm really enjoying my lemon tea, by the way.
Yeah.
And people go, "Oh, just the lemon tea," but it is really the small things, like enjoying something that's pure and healthy. I got the lemon from the garden, whatever, and it's related to not consumerism, but like spending time with other people, like you and I'll be spending. We spend time with each other over tea and stuff like that. It is the small things, and God is subtle, and so. And a really good example I love giving is air is subtle. Now you must say, what does that mean? So if we had loads of air, we do have lots of air. If we didn't have lots of air, we would really be grateful every time we breathed. Okay. But the weird contradiction is that given the fact that we do have lots of air, we become ungrateful for it. We don't become grateful for air. Like how many people do you know are grateful for air?
Nobody.
But it's pretty important stuff.
Yeah.
And just because we have so much of it, we're ungrateful for it, which is kind of a weird contradiction. So it's part of being a high level thinker or a deep level thinker that you actually contemplate these things. If you don't think deeply, then all you do is you focus on the completely obvious. Okay, you focus on the material, and the material, as we've kind of just tried to talk about right now, is not the stuff that actually fulfills you, because the stuff that really fulfills you, as I said before, is stuff like meaning and relationships and kindness and whatever, and they're really subtle things. And I want to kind of, I don't know if it'll help, but I love this thing because I don't think most people think about this. Most Muslims I'm talking about, because these are saying a Prophet Muhammad, but this might be interesting to you as well, right? I hope it is. It says, he who does not thank people is not thankful to God, Allah. That sounds like the wrong way around. Like, isn't it easier to be thankful to God who's given us everything? But like I said, human beings are stupid, right? So why people, being thankful to people is more obvious than being thankful to God, even though God is giving so much more, because God is subtle. Like, God gives you loads of stuff, but you can't see God handing out air to you. So you know what I mean? Like, the human being doesn't see it. They just breathe all the time. They just wake up and say, I'm depressed, and breathing all that air and all that free stuff. And they're still being depressed, right? Okay. But because they're not being thankful for all these millions of things. But if somebody just gives them a Snickers bar or something, they say thank you. But you don't say thank you to God for air. I'm not sure how well I'm explaining it, but the point is that this is the right way around. And the first step is being thankful to people. And then maybe you start being thankful for the more subtle things. And when you're more thankful for the subtle things, that's where you really win. Yeah, I'm just wondering if there's anything. Yeah. So I've already talked about material mindset is the lower form of living, right?
Yeah.
And if you really want to live and really want to enjoy life, it's the subtle things. And I think the last thing I'm going to say, every day can be absolutely beautiful. It really can, but only when you're in touch with the subtle things like your background, where you've got a memory of the stuff that you love, which is every day you just go into nature. That's what it is. You're going when you go into the sea, what the beautiful thing about the sea is, it's unspoiled nature. You don't have high rise buildings in the sea normally.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? And that's why nature is so beautiful. Just like if you went to the forest, to be so sorry, did I say nature is so beautiful? The sea is so beautiful because it's
Yeah.
unspoiled nature. And if you went to the forest, you'd have the same experience. But the sea is one of those few places where you go and you generally don't have it polluted with all our buildings. So anyway, you say something and then we'll wind up.
No, I think I think it's been really good. We've covered a lot of ground, and it comes back to what we spoke about in the last stream, and I think the one before that. Um, we've got we've all got a choice how to live, and you know, if it's not working out for you, then maybe there's something fundamentally wrong, or and it could be worth trying a different way, than as opposed to trying to obtain more, um, which is what the stream was about. What makes us
I love that. I
happy.
love that. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, in a
So,
in a way, I think we've possibly spoke more about what really makes us unhappy. You know, but
yeah,
it's not to go down that route of um, self-seeking, of searching, of expectations and stuff, and then you're all right. You're in a position to just be okay. And I think these
yeah.
days, I'm happy with being okay. It doesn't need to be glorious, flashing lights and
Ooh.
money. I'm okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I kind of feel like you're not selling it well when you say it's okay because it didn't sound
Yeah, but
enticing.
that's the beauty. I don't feel the need.
Yeah,
Uh,
I love that.
like,
But also, but I want to, I'm going to, because this is another video, you see, but I'm going to put it this way really briefly. It's when you say okay, you're talking about inner peace.
yeah,
And inner
completely.
peace is a different dimension. So I'm going to say it very briefly. It goes like I'm going to try to physically try to describe it. There's the ups and downs of physical enjoyment, which is a very narrow bandwidth. Like let's say you're having sex, like there's a maximum level that your body can actually enjoy, and then it cuts off or something, right?
Yeah,
It's like I don't know with sound or something. If the sound is too loud, the device can't measure it anymore.
yeah.
Okay, so that's actually a very narrow bandwidth of physical pleasure. But peace has an infinite dimension, and it just comes deeper and deeper and more beautiful. That's what I would
Well,
say.
I,
So when you're
I,
saying okay, it's peace, and it's far
yeah,
more better than
completely.
the unfulfilling physical pleasures. Relatively
Yeah.
unfulfilling. I'm not saying you don't eat, you don't have sex. You need to do those things, like, but they're
But but
overemphasized in Western society in the wrong
the
way.
there's a great line in the in the Bible, and it translates as, and I put it in the chat before. It says, "Ask and it shall be given, for it has already been given." So, if a person's wanting to be happy, he doesn't really need to go looking for it. It's here. You've already got it,
Mm,
and it's the human through having the faulty mindset will go out and seek, seek, seek. But the spiritual principle is no, ask and it shall be given, for it's already been given. You've had it for years, you just didn't know it. And that's
interesting.
you're talking about
I'll
peace and
put a caveat on that though, because some people they want stuff that's not good for them. So I suppose you have to be humble. I don't know what it is. Who said that? Jesus or somebody else has said it?
It's in the Bible. I don't know.
I'm gonna search it out anyway, but I'm gonna search up after. It's interesting. I think it's true. God does give things, but I think God doesn't always give you what you want, because sometimes what you want is really stupid. Like, we're really dumb people. Like, we shouldn't get what we want necessarily. Sometimes we ask for dumb things, but generally God gives you, if you're humble. I don't want to go into it too much, but yeah, that's all I say. Like, God is very giving, so it does give you something, but maybe not exactly what you want, because what you want might
It's
be
in the
really dumb.
sermon. It's in Matthew. So
Yeah, but we don't have to know it now. Like, I'm going to check it up though. I'm going to check it up because I love learning stuff. Like, the whole point of these videos, we throw out ideas, people listen to, and they can research more into it if they want, that kind of stuff. So I'm going to research into that.
the thing is, like I'm in my mid-50s, but when I was in my 20s and 30s, I still had all of the facilities to get to the place where I am now. And that's what it means when it's saying that, like, it isn't that suddenly I've discovered something or something's happened. It's that I've realized that there's stuff there that's faulty, there's stuff there that doesn't work, and all you're left with is the stuff that was always there. And so I'm quite grateful that I've managed to get to this place within, and it's a lot easier, it's a lot better, and it's yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much. That's beautiful. I 100% agree. I want to wind up now. But thank you so much for your time. It's always so good having you here.
Thank you.
Like, you bring a lot to the show. I love that your nuances and that you add to what I've got to say, because I say things in very blunt ways. So appreciate it. And thank you everybody for watching. Hope somebody benefited. As I say, as usual, in the description is references and summaries and links to my whole happiness course, etc. Anyway, thank you very much. Bye.
Thanks, Ali. Look forward to next time. Bye bye.
Looking forward to it. Bye.